Let's see more of Phuket today, shall we? It has been absolutely unpredictable weather because today was meant to be forecast and raining, but instead we're getting pretty good ones. But there's still a few spots I want to check out before this goes back to the dealership. Well, not dealership, but car rental. Hopefully the weather holds, because I went to one place yesterday, but it was so clouded and foggy and misted over. Visibility was all of 50 meters. So instead, if it holds out today, we'll go today. Maybe get one spot for sunset if we're lucky. Fingers crossed. We can see some great locations, get some good photos, and enjoy this island a little bit more as well. So let's stop yapping, which I do quite a bit. Cue the music. Let's hit the road. I'll see you in a bit. So here's the first composition. I've just literally set up the camera to capture the scene of the area, where I just wanted to show the initial pools on the waterfall before I make my way all the way up these stairs that you can see behind me to the further pool, which apparently, because it's a harder check, few people go there. Right now there's a family playing, so I don't want to interrupt them. I have taken my photo already. Settings wise, they were, once my camera turns on again, f16 1 second and ISO 50. That way I can slow down the shutter speed to 1 second without needing a filter on there. And it was polarized as well. So let's take a few more pictures around here, then we'll head up to the rest of the pools. I hope you guys can hear me. I patiently waited for the family to finish playing in the water, and now I can get set up to get these pools on their own. So settings wise, we're at half a second, f11, ISO 50 again, with a 3-stop ND filter, so I can really get a long shutter speed of half a second. Going to exposure bracket at 2/3 of a stop either side of this one. If it's any good, you'll see it up on the screen right now. And then we're going to pack up from this spot, head up to the next location, and try and get a few more pictures from there. Here's a nice little spot for a waterfall. The good thing is, because it's nice and clouded over, I'm probably not going to need my ND filters. What I will need is to be careful heading down. Let's be smart about this. Now I know why they said bring good walking shoes, because this part is pretty sketchy. And since I'm out here alone, I'm not overly keen on getting injured whilst taking photos. We'll start here. We'll see if we can get one there. And it looks like it is safe to get down there, if I'm not stupid about it. Which, for those of you who know me, is not common. To not be stupid, that is. See? There we go. Alright, tripod down. Let's do this safely. I don't want any broken bones during this trip. So, here we are at the waterfall. I hope you can hear me over the thundering water, because it's quite loud and I can barely hear myself. But I do have a nice composition that I like, where I've got some of the foreground in here. The waterfall is front and center of the frame, but I've also got some of these streams coming up on the side as well. So hopefully they will pan out. Because it's quite covered up here, I don't need to worry about using an ND filter. And because I'm also at f11, I can do 1.6 seconds of a shutter speed, as well as be at ISO 50. That way I get a nice long slope, smooth look to the water. And if this looks as good on the back of the camera as it does as a print, I'll show it to you guys right now, but let's get this photo and then we can head up further on to the rest of the waterfalls. I found my first composition. I think I'm going to do both a landscape and a portrait orientation at these falls just because they're so tall. Thankfully, I've got my 50 to 35 lens with me because it's the only way we've been able to get all of this in one frame, because I'm at 15 millimeters, 2 seconds, f11 and ISO 50, and I'm able to do all of that without my freestyle filter because of the rainforest canopy that we've got here over these waterfalls. And the way I framed it up is, if I can show you, is as you can see here, I've got these rocks down here in the foreground because I want them, just this one is pointing right up to the waterfall. No, center point stay there. And I've got these rocks, which you can barely see because it's so bright, here on the side, just framing this little, I'm not sure what it's called, I'm not a geologist. And then I've got the rocks coming down at a decent angle right down the center of the frame and filling out the pool as well. When I go, oops, stay on screen. So there we are, we're at 2 seconds, f11, a bit underexposed at ISO 50, but that's because I'm going to be bracketing it at 2/3 of a stop again. So let's see what we can do. This time, let's go for a portrait orientation. Similar to composition 2 before, exactly the same settings. I'm just at 15, but still at 15 millimeters. Make sure I'm polarized so you can see through the water. Yes, you can see that's without the polarizer on. Come on, turn. And that's with the polarizer. That looks a bit overexposed for my liking, so I'm going to slow that shutter speed down to 1 second. And it's going to be bracketed anyway, so that's fine. But I don't want those trees in the background, which you can see up here. I don't want these trees to be too bright, even though all of that will be nicely in shadow now. So thanks to Lightroom, you can get quite a lot of info back in the shadows. So let's get this shot, and let's see if it's any good. Whilst I'm taking this picture, and hopefully you can hear me as well over the raging waterfall, I thought it'd also be a good time to talk about shutter speeds and exposure. Because if you remember, I did a video a couple months back of choosing a particular shutter speed depending on what it is you're taking pictures of. In a scene like this, you've got multiple options, which I'm also going to explore. And one of them is, I've got nothing in front of the camera lens right now, just the polarizer to take off the reflection. And because of choosing an aperture of f11 and a low ISO, I can get a shutter speed of 2 seconds. In saying that, if I went to a much shallower depth of field like f2.8, I would have to drop my shutter speed down to 1/13 of a second to get roughly the same exposure. And if I wanted to completely freeze the water, the only way I could do that at this point is to bump up the ISO, which if I wanted to do, let's say 1/250th of a second, I would need to go to ISO 800, which is manageable in most cameras nowadays. ISO 800 isn't that bad. I'm the sort of photographer who likes a long shutter speed in water. I like that smooth, silky look. You've got other photographers who do not want to use a tripod setup the way I do, and they want to be able to, excuse me, when you're not used to this Phuket humidity, you're constantly sweating like there's no tomorrow. When you are used to it, then it's perfectly fine. So as I was saying though, there are multiple types of photographers out there, some who don't mind using a tripod the way I do, some who love to do handheld only. At which point, if your camera and lens have great stabilization, you can do like up to a second of shutter speed, depending on what focal length you're at. I never have an issue carrying tripods with me, so for me to do that is perfectly fine. If I've got to sit out here or do a 10-minute shot to get a nice ethereal look to it, I'm going to do that as well. But it's something that it's always a personal preference. Some love it, some don't. It's no right or wrong, it's just what you prefer. And I might even put the 3, the 6, and the 10 next to each other because I'm doing it in the portrait mode, and then you can determine what you like next to the one without any filter except the polarizer. I've had to change the wind muffler on my microphone because, as you can see, this one has been so covered in sweat it almost looks like a fuzzball. It's like a sea urchin, not this fluffy thing. Or hopefully this one doesn't get too sweaty. I'm sitting here waiting because I'm doing a 22-minute exposure of the top of Carter waterfalls, and I know you're probably thinking 22 minutes, how? And it's literally because I put a 10-stop filter in front of my lens. I wanted to see how it looks without any filters except the polarizer, a 3-stop, a 6-stop, and a 10-stop as well. But I'm going to sit here for another 15 or so odd minutes because I'll show you exactly what I'm capturing right now. As you can see, I can't show you the back of the camera screen because it's taking the photo, but I've got it focused so that here is the foreground, as I mentioned earlier, but I've got all of this waterfall showing up in the photo as well. Fingers crossed it will be a great photo. It has been a great day out. If you can come to Phuket, even with all this COVID stuff going on, please do so. The island needs it. It's at roughly 20% normal capacity. I know things are still a bit uncertain of all the other COVID crap, but I was walking through the other day and seeing so many shops closed and abandoned and nobody around. It's just heartbreaking when it's your country that this is happening to. So if you can make it down to Phuket or anywhere else in Thailand, please do so. They will be happy to have you back as a tourist and visiting the country as well. We'll leave it there for today. I'm in dire need of getting cleaned up because of the amount I've been sweating and how wet everything is from the sweat and the waterfall in general. If you have liked to come along today, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to stay tuned to see more of what Phuket's got to offer, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tick that little bell so you'll get a notification whenever a new video is released. I'll leave it there for now because hopefully you can hear me with this raging waterfall, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good night. Whoa, why am I saying have a good night? That was Sydney. This is Thailand. Have a good day.